The modern world has a specific goal for man to make them harmless, predictable, agreeable, easy to manage, and for most men, it's working. Not because they're weak, but because they've become ghosts to their own life. As an Ivy League PhD, I look at this as a civilizational erasure. We're living through a global experiment in male domestication. But there is a specific type of man that the system cannot account for. A man who carries an edge that makes him impossible to script. Most people think dangerous men are violent. They're wrong. Violence is easy. True danger is something else entirely. Let's look at how to reclaim that edge that civilization takes from you. And this isn't about tips. It's about a structural reclamation of your own vitality. A dangerous man doesn't want a magic pill. He does difficult things voluntarily because he knows comfort always has a price. He understands that he possesses a forbidden code, the secret to his rebellion, and it starts from his physical presence. Now, I'm not here to tell you to get more shredded or get a hair transplant. I couldn't care less about it. I'm telling you to pay close attention to something far more important than aesthetics. Look around. 30-year-old men dress like 14-year-old boys. That isn't fashion. It's surrender. They dress to blend in. They speak to blend in. They think to blend in. And eventually, they disappear. Individuality is inconvenient. Ghosts are much easier to manage. To become dangerous, you must start with reclaiming dignity. And it starts with physical presence. Your grooming, your posture, your energy. This is not about being conventionally handsome or following a trend. This is not about having a six-pack or expensive suits. It is about signal integrity. When you clean up your physical presentation, when you stand with alignment and dress with intent, when you have the courage to quietly claim, I matter, you're announcing that you're no longer willing to be a featureless unit in a global conformity experiment. Buy the damn shirt. Polish the shoes. Stand up straight. Not because clothes matter, but because you matter. Just a few simple swaps, and you're reclaiming your architecture. But the truth is, most men aren't afraid of a button-up shirt. They're afraid of being seen. Imagine walking into a room without instinctively trying to disappear. Imagine not wondering whether people are judging you because you already know where you stand. Imagine carrying yourself with enough quiet certainty that people begin to adjust themselves to you. This is what dignity gives you. Not arrogance, presence. A man who respects his own presence is a man who sends a clear signal. I cannot be easily dismissed. I'm not willing to be dismissed. Dignity is your first weapon against a civilization that wants you to remain a shadow. It is the visible proof that you're a man who's no longer for sale. High-ranking military officers shaved every day, even during war. Not for appearance, for dignity. Because the moment you stop respecting yourself, surrender has already begun. They didn't do it to look good in the eyes of their enemies. They didn't do it for vanity. They did it as an act of biological defiance. They knew that the moment they stopped grooming, they would mentally surrender too. We see the same energy in one of my favorite TV villains, Gus in Breaking Bad. He isn't dangerous because he's loud or physically strong. Quite the contrary, actually. He's dangerous because his appearance is perfect. His tie is always straight, his shirt is always pressed. He uses his dignity to project competence. He's impossible to read and commands respect. When you reclaim your presence, you aren't just dressing up. You're signaling that you're no longer a victim of domestication. And something strange begins to happen. People listen a little bit longer. They interrupt you a little bit less. They stop treating you like background noise, and not because your clothes changed, but because you stopped apologizing for existing. Reclaiming your physical architecture is only the first layer of the defense. Once you have secured your borders, you have to defend them, and that requires a weapon. If at first you need to master your presence, then you need to develop your power. If at first you focus on dignity, then you must develop your competence. Dignity changes how the world sees you. Competence changes how you see yourself. One gives you presence, the other gives you conviction. Together, they create a man who no longer needs external validation because he has become his own authority. The modern system doesn't just want you physically soft and invisible, it wants you intellectually bare. It has spent the last 2 decades systematically shortening your attention span, hollowing out your vocabulary, and training you to think in algorithmically approved slogans. The system thrives on your intellectual dependency. It doesn't want you to think. It wants you to react to a pre-programmed digital feed. The system wants you on a diet of information junk food, short, salty bursts of outrage that keep your brain in a state of permanent inflammation. It wants your vocabulary small so your world stays small. Language determines perception. A man with a limited vocabulary can only feel what he's told to feel. He can only think what he's told to think. Most men, most people today don't speak, they repeat. They use the same 3 dozen filler words, the same pre-packaged internet slang, and the same emotional reactions they swipe through on their phones that morning. The stripping of critical and free thinking is an essential element of your domestication. Reclaiming your language, your knowledge, and your ability to think independently is the ultimate dangerous act of secession. A man who cannot articulate his thoughts with precision is a man who cannot defend his territory. If you don't have words to define your reality, someone else will happily define it for you. To become truly dangerous, you must match your physical dignity with intellectual articulation. And just like the loafers and the button-up shirt, this doesn't require a master's degree. It requires one deep, practical daily discipline. Reading. I'm not talking about scrolling through lifestyle blogs or reading casual fiction. I'm talking about feeding your brain language that forces it to work. Read difficult books. Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Melville. Books that refuse to entertain you. Books that demand something from you. When you read books that expand you, you're exposing your mind to superior information that very few people have access to. You're absorbing the vocabulary, the sentence structures, and the mental frameworks of history's most precise thinkers. You don't need a master's degree. You just need 50 minutes a day with a book that challenges you. When you expand your vocabulary, you expand your capacity to think, and you expand your capacity to express yourself. You stop stumbling over words. You stop using filler language when you're under pressure. You gain the ability to state exactly what you mean and exactly why it matters. A man who can look you in the eye, fully composed, and articulate a complex truth without flinching, that is a man the system cannot manage. He cannot be gaslit. He cannot be easily manipulated. His articulation is his shield. Imagine what it feels like to sit in a difficult conversation and never search for words, to know exactly what you think, exactly why you think it, and to express it without rushing, without apologizing, and without second guessing yourself. That's not intelligence, that's freedom. Imagine waking up every morning knowing exactly who you are. Not because the world approved of you, not because women validated you, not because social media rewarded you, but because you've become a man whose life is organized around principles instead of approval. That's a dangerous man. Build your dignity, sharpen your mind, tell the truth, carry responsibility. Become the man modern civilization cannot predict. Dignity is how you secure the perimeter. Competence is how you hold the line. When you combine these two, a man who carries himself with physical dignity and speaks with the precision of a sharpened blade, you create a presence that's impossible to capture. You aren't just a dangerous man in theory. You're a living, breathing exception in a system designed for compliance. A dangerous man isn't dangerous because he dominates other people. He's dangerous because there's no longer a gap between what he believes and how he lives. Modern civilization cannot predict that man. It cannot script him. It cannot buy him. It cannot replace him. Become that man.